YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Today I got my Chicago Bears 2021 record prediction. Going through my predictions game by game, then we'll circle back and do my best case scenario and worst case like we do for every single team. We got a playlist full of these videos, definitely more to come, and then we'll get into playoff predictions, Super Bowl predictions, keeping you guys involved too. You guys are voting along the way who wins each division. You'll eventually kind of create a playoff field and on. So follow our Twitter for that. It's on your screen right now. There's also a link down below. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe. Bunch of nice content on the way here at the Goat House. We got you covered. So hopefully you join us. Playoffpredictors.com. That is the website we're using for all these videos. You can play along. Check it out. Chicago Bears. A little bit of a different look Bears team, perhaps. It's a tough team to predict because Andy Dalton versus Justin Fields. I'm on record saying I think Andy Dalton will start. I would start Justin Fields week 1, but I think Andy Dalton will start. We really don't know. What I'm afraid, they do is, they start Andy Dalton. You see how tough the schedule is, and they throw in Justin Fields when things aren't working out. If you're gonna sit Justin Fields, I'd sit him the whole year. So I am a little worried about that because, I'm realizing we knew the NFC North, those teams had a tough schedule. Sitting here looking at this Bears schedule, it's pretty just like the Packers, Vikings, Lions. It's ridiculously tough here. So we'll see what they decide to do. A little different look, though. The tackles are going to look a little different. Tevin Jenkins, the rookie, moving to left tackle. No Kyle Fuller, so that should be pretty interesting. The weapons are looking better, though. Receiver, running back, looking pretty solid in those rooms. So should be interesting. Again, looking over the schedule, I think they're a second half of the year team, just looking at the schedule, but we'll see what they decide at quarterback here. Week 1 against the Rams, that would, Sunday Night Football to start off the year would be tough for Justin Fields to go against Aaron Donald and company. See what they decide. They do have a better shot to win with Justin Fields. I know he has some adjustments to make, hasn't played it down in the NFL yet. Again, I think it's Andy Dalton, but we'll see. I'm going to take the Rams at home. I think they'll have some success in terms of pass rush, and then I think they'll be able to put up a good amount of points through the air there with Matt Stafford, going against a team he's familiar with there in the Chicago Bears. So I'm going to go Rams, Bengals, Bears, week 2. I keep talking about the Bengals can be pretty sneaky. They could air it out against the Bears. The Bears secondary, it seems like it's taking a step down a little bit. Now they lose Kyle Fuller, but, and the Bengals will run with their 3 wide out there. Joe Burrow, if he's healthy, they can really air it out. I think the Bears get too much pass rush in this one, though. Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack, and Robert Quinn can step up. And that'll be the difference. I do think the Bears can get some things going. Andy Dalton, possibly versus old team, could get some things going offensively here. And then Bears-Browns. I take the Browns in that one, a little every other here. The Browns are going to come in there and pound the football, and that's going to open up the passing game. Their offensive line may be the best in football. They'll be able to handle the Bears' pass rush there, which I think is definitely solid. Maybe not the same it was a few years ago. So I think it's a pretty good matchup. They have the Browns have Myles Garrett, to get after the quarterback, and they have a pretty deep secondary as well. So I like the Browns in that matchup. We're going Bears in week 4. All the home teams winning so far. Bears versus Lions. Lions are interesting. I definitely think they're preparing for the future in a good way. They could have some struggles. But, Jared Goff, who knows which Jared Goff's going to show up. They got a pretty good offensive line. But I'll take the Bears there in week 4. Bears-Raiders, this is one I've been back and forth on here for sure. It's going to be a pretty damn good game. I like the Raiders' balance a lot. I think they can find success running the ball against the Bears' defense early in this game, which would open up the pass. They definitely improved the secondary as well. I think the difference, if it was in Chicago, I'd probably take the Bears. I'm actually going to take the Raiders. I think it's a game where Josh Jacobs actually has success, and again, it opens things up for Carr. So I will take the Raiders here. It's a tough schedule, tough start. I'm going to go. I just don't like the matchup for the Packers, for the Bears against the Packers. I think the Packers have proven they can score even when the Bears have a top-tier defense. They can move the ball. They can run the ball, pass the ball, of course. And they're forcing the Bears to play keep up. And I just don't know if the Bears have the offense to play keep up. I think the Packers' defense actually could be better this year. Love their secondary. Bears-Bucks. The Bears got them last year. I think the Bucks are a different animal, every step of the way throughout the season last year, obviously into the playoffs and the Super Bowl. I think the Bucks at home. And the Bears show they can beat them last year, so it's a possibility. It's a tough stretch right here. Again, I think they get things going in the second half of the year. 49ers, Bears. if they played them more in the back half, I'd definitely consider the Bears because the Niners health concerns, down the stretch of the season, but they play them somewhat early here. 49ers have that pass rush to get after Dalton or the young quarterback. I guess the question is who's that quarterback for them, but I do like the Niners in that one. It's a rough start here. Monday night against Steelers, this is a pure defensive game here. Take the home team on prime time, bye weeks and week 10. I do think they could turn it around. I did the Ravens video already. I actually picked the Bears, so I might have some game. Maybe the fans would pick the Bears over the Raiders or the Bears over the Steelers, but maybe they wouldn't pick the Bears over the Ravens. That's how the NFL season is, so there's some random outcomes. I'm looking for a matchup. I like them against the Ravens. I think the Bears do a pretty good job game planning for this type of quarterback. They haven't really seen Lamar Jackson. He's kind of the only one of a kind, but they do a pretty good job keeping that running game inside and limiting it. So I actually think the Bears defense matches up well with that. They won't fear the pass too much, even though Lamar can hit you with that. They'll just strictly game plan, keep Lamar in the running game inside, and we can handle that with their inside linebackers and Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman's back. I think they match up with a team very well, like the Ravens, actually. Bears, Lions, Thursday nights. I was going to pick the Bears, but the Lions could get one on them there. Cardinals, Bears. I think they do a good job keeping Kyler Murray contained or inside, and I think they could have some success pounding the football, what the Bears want to do, and make the Cardinals play keep up. I think they match up well against the Cardinals there. I just don't like the way they match up against the Packers. That's why I picked the Packers twice. Vikings at Bears, Monday Night Football. It seems like they're always playing prime time. They split games last year. They were the away teams won the away games. I think the Bears win the home game prime time this year against the Vikings. So in the back half here, we're at 4-1, and they play the Seahawks. This is a really good game. This is crunch time for Seattle. This is probably most people will probably pick the Seahawks here. I love the way the Bears match up against the Seahawks. The Bears. This is where the Bears last year the Bears defense didn't feel at nowhere near as good as it used to be, but they had those moments. They had the moments where okay, it looks like the Bears. That looks like the Bears. That Bears defense, And there was weeks where I was like, what that? We just gave up 30+ points. Like, what was that? I think it's all about matchup. I think even against good teams like the Ravens, like the Cardinals, like the Seahawks, that good Bears team shows up. They're pretty good with their stunts, running stunts defensively. I know there's a little bit of a change, but that seems to affect Russell Wilson and even the running game here. The Seahawks offensive game plan in general. Looking at last year, I think it's a similar matchup to the Giants game last year. So I think the Bears defense with that and the pass rush of Khalil Mack, of course, I think it presents problems for the Seahawks offense possibly. It's not going to shut them down completely. And I'm thinking maybe Justin Fields is I hope he doesn't get thrown into a bad situation, but at this point of the year, they're winning right now. If he's in this game, he actually could find some success against the Seattle Seahawks defense. Andy Dalton could as well. Andy Dalton actually had some good games last year. He just really struggled when the Cowboys offense line was beat up and some ridiculous pass rush was getting after him. While the tackle still got some improving to do for the Bears, developing actually at the left tackle spot. The Seahawks don't really present that great of a pass rush, so they might be protected. Andy Dalton may be able to move the ball. So this on both sides of the ball, the matchup is going to change. When we get to week 16, when we actually get there, just right now, that's what I go off of. Giants, Bears. I did pick the Giants in the Giants video. I'm kind of back and forth on this one. The Bears are still, even though I do think the defense is declining a little bit, they're still very good at kind of creating those turnovers, those clutch turnovers against Daniel Jones, against that offensive line. Very doable. So Bears in that one. And I did have the Vikings-Bears splitting, winning home games there. So 8-9 is not ideal. It's really that start. So I have them at 8-9, but if we want to circle back and go with the ones that we easily can flip here, it's really about this start. If they have this back half of the season here with just a couple games different in the front, they're looking pretty damn good. So if you want to circle back to best case, again, we can flip this Raiders game, and we can flip between the Niners and the Steelers, probably one. We'll go with that one maybe. Something to keep in mind, though, I did have them beating the Ravens, which most people probably don't have them. I did have them beating the Cardinals. Beating the Vikings one, that's definitely realistic. beating the Seahawks as well, the Giants. Some people like the Giants as well. So even though we flipped some of these to kind of best case, keep in mind I had some of these specific games on best case. Kind of shows how tough of a schedule this is because I had them at 8-9, even with winning some of these big-time games here. There really isn't much we can switch down the back here. I mean, they could go 2-0 against the Vikings. I don't know if I see that on top of beating a team like the 49ers, the Ravens, the Cardinals, something like that. So I do think best case is around 10-7. If Justin Fields starts week 1, it does change things, but I don't know if it changes a whole bunch because remember, he does need to make some adjustments for playing for the first time in the NFL. Got to get rid of the ball quicker, got to read defenses quicker. It could be like a Justin Herbert, which was extremely rare, so you shouldn't expect it. But even pre-draft process, I kind of compared their college situations going from the college to the NFL, so it actually is possible where he can be an instant impact guy like that if he does play. So, yeah, some question marks with the Bears in terms of that. Really just the quarterback situation. What do they decide to do? And if they do start Dalton, are they going to throw Justin Fields in? If they're winning, they're going to keep Dalton in. If they're losing, do they make the change to try to turn around the season? Or do they not want to throw the rookie in the bad situation? Because it rarely works out when that happens. But I think if it's early enough, let's say if they start off 1-2, they lose to the Rams, beat the Bengals, or lose to the Bengals, and then lose to the Browns. They start with first 3 games, they're either 1-2 or 0-3. And then going against the Lions, I would actually be okay. I would actually be good with that. I'm kind of anti throwing a quarterback into a bad situation, but if they're 1-2 or 0-3 heading into Week 4 against the Lions, who have a young defense that you can find some success on, Justin Fields versus Jeff Okudah, maybe Ohio State Buckeyes, that I'll make an exception for sure for that. So that maybe that's something we can to look out for there. So I kind of just thought of that right now. That's definitely a possibility there. It seems like pretty good timing where it's not too late to throw him in and going against the Lions there. And maybe might turn kind of the energy around within the locker room. I think if you throw him in around, there's really nowhere to throw him in, around where, maybe the Raiders game, but down here, you could throw him in against the Packers in that huge rival game. You could throw him in against the Bucs, the Niners defense, the Steelers defense Monday night, the Ravens defense. No, you're not, maybe that's too late there. So there really isn't a big window to do it. So if they're going to do it, either week 1 or week 4. So that's best case around 10 wins, of course. So then worst case, we can go with, we had that for the actual prediction. Back to the Niners, Steelers. They could lose the Ravens. They could. It could be. It's a pretty rangy team, I suppose. I don't see them winning 3 games. That was 3 games. I don't see them winning only 3 games. There could be some struggles. If they just hold they hold Justin Fields out. They let Andy Dalton can stay in there. Maybe they throw Nick Foles in there. Who the hell knows? There could be some. It's a tough schedule. So realistically, you could see them losing a lot of these games, but. I just, 4 or 5 wins, I guess, is the very worst case scenario. I just don't see it happening, really. But back to the actual predictions here. We had them winning that one. Yeah, we had the 8-9. Pretty confident, I think we all are, that the Bears will be in that range, that 7, 8, 9, 10 range. Like they should be in that range, really. But looking at the schedule, again, it could be a pretty rough year. They seem to be pretty good the last couple of years. I guess under Nagy, it feels like kind of pulling off the nail biters, the clutch wins. So if they keep some of these games close, they can pull. Obviously they can pull them off and they get maybe more wins than we're expecting. It's definitely very possible there. Again, it's going to rely on who's at quarterback, maybe how much Justin Fields progresses, how rapidly he progresses, or if it takes some time. We will see, but that is going to do it for the Bears record predictions video. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. We got the Vikings, the Lions to do still, and then we are to the AFC South teams, and NFC South and AFC West, and then they're all on a playlist. You can check them out. So join us for all that. Follow our Twitter, smash the like button, subscribe. It's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.